On a warm, golden afternoon, sunlight spilled across Riverside Avenue like liquid gold. The air smelled sweet with fresh bread and pastries, a promise of comfort wafting from a small neighborhood bakery. But for one mother and her daughter, hope felt like a distant dream. Marissa, thin and exhausted, stepped through the bakery doors. Dirt smudged her old clothes and worry was etched deep into her face. At her side, her little daughter Flora clung to her hand, her wide eyes still holding a faint spark of hope despite the gnawing hunger in her belly. Marissa hadn't eaten since yesterday. Aflo's last meal had been a tiny piece of an apple, which Marissa had carefully divided between them. They hadn't come to buy anything. They couldn't. Marissa was here to ask for something most people throw away without a second thought. She was here to ask for scraps. If you believe that even a small act of kindness can make a world of difference, take a moment to like, comment, and share this video. Your support helps us spread stories that remind us of the good in humanity. And do not forget to subscribe to World of Kindness so you never miss a story that can heal a heart. Inside the bakery was a world of overwhelming luxury. Rows of freshly baked bread, gleaming pastries under glass, and ornate cakes stood like treasures, almost too beautiful to be real. Marissa lowered her gaze, avoiding the polished floor, as if it could somehow reveal her shame and desperation. Flora clung tightly to her sleeve, her small fingers trembling, not from cold, but from a mix of hunger and awe. Gathering every ounce of her courage, Marissa walked slowly to the counter. She kept her voice low, almost a whisper, so as not to disturb the other customers. She asked the employee if they had any expired cake, anything they were planning to throw away at the end of the day. Anything at all that she could give her little girl. The two employees behind the counter exchanged awkward glances. Their boss had a very strict policy. No food was to be given away before closing time. It was a rule designed to prevent loss, but it felt like a wall of indifference. A wave of shame washed over Marissa, making her face burn. She wanted to turn around, to run out the door and disappear. But the thought of Flora's hungry eyes kept her rooted to the spot. Hunger was a powerful force, welding her hope to this one desperate chance. She stood there, waiting, feeling the weight of every passing second. Unseen by Marissa, a man had been watching from a small table in the corner. Roland Vance, a tall, well-dressed entrepreneur, had stepped into the bakery for a quiet moment away from the city's relentless noise. But as he listened to Marissa's trembling voice, something deep inside him stirred. Years ago, Roland had lost his wife and daughter in a tragic car accident. His immense wealth had done nothing to heal his grief. In fact, it had become a fortress, locking his heart away behind walls of solitude that no amount of money could ever break down. He had forgotten what it felt like to connect with another person, to feel anything other than a dull, persistent ache. But here in the warm, gentle light of a humble bakery, a mother's quiet plea had found a crack in those walls. He saw not just a homeless woman, not a starving child, but two human souls, pushed into the shadows by life's unimaginable cruelty. He saw a mother's love, fierce and unwavering, and in that moment of recognition, his own long-dormant humanity began to awaken. Without any fanfare, without drawing any attention to himself, Roland stood up and walked to the counter. He didn't address Marissa directly, not wanting to embarrass her further. Instead, he spoke to the staff. He asked them to pack up the freshest, most beautiful cake in the display case. He then added 2 warm meals from their lunch menu, several sandwiches, and a selection of pastries. He asked for enough food not just to satisfy their immediate hunger, but to nourish their tired hearts and give them a moment of peace. Marissa watched in stunned confusion. She braced herself for judgment, for a lecture, for the cold dismissal she had grown so used to, but it never came. Instead, Roland simply took the large, fragrant bag from the employee, nodded calmly to the cashier to add it all to his bill, and thanked the staff. He turned, and with a soft, respectful expression, he handed the bag to Marissa. When her hands touched the warm bag, a wave of disbelief and overwhelming relief washed over her. It was heavy, filled with more food than she had seen in months. Tears welled in her eyes, but she blinked them back, too stunned to even speak. Flora's face, which had been so pale and drawn, lit up with a pure, unadulterated joy. It wasn't the light of greed. It was the light of hope, the kind of joy that only a child who has known true hunger can fully understand. The bakery employees watched, their earlier hesitation replaced with a quiet sense of shame, and then with admiration. Kindness had entered their shop, not with a grand announcement, but with a simple, profound act. Marissa finally found her voice, a soft, sincere whisper. "Thank you," she said, the words carrying the weight of her entire world. And for the first time in years, a genuine smile touched Roland Vance's lips. It was a warmth that spread through his chest, a feeling he thought he had lost forever on the day he lost his family. He gave a small nod, wished her and her daughter a good afternoon, and left the bakery as quietly as he had entered. He didn't leave behind a business card or a grand gesture. He simply left behind a piece of his renewed humanity. Outside on a small bench under the golden afternoon sun, Marissa and Flora shared a slice of the beautiful cake. Their smiles were quiet, but they were like a sunrise after a long, dark night. For the first time in a very long time, they didn't have to worry about where their next meal would come from. They just had this moment of peace, of sweetness, of grace. And as Roland drove away, he realized something profound. Changing a life didn't require millions of dollars or a grand foundation. It just required one person noticing another. It required one moment of compassion, offered at exactly the right time. In healing a small piece of their world, he had begun to heal a piece of his own. If this story touched your heart, please show your support by liking, commenting, and sharing it with others. Every share helps us spread these important messages of hope. And make sure you subscribe to World of Kindness for more stories that inspire. Now, we want to hear from you. Tell us in the comments, do you believe that one small act of kindness can truly change someone's entire life? We look forward to reading your thoughts. Thank you for watching.